Welcome to Desire.dilemma, a podcast that amplifies immigrant voices in America. I'm Funmi Apantaku-Onayemi, your host. It's a pleasure to have Joy Amede as our guest today to share her parents' desires to leave Nigeria to America while she was as young as 6 years old. She describes her first impressions of America, the challenges she faced, and the family support that allowed her to stay grounded. Our podcast expert, Dr. Yemi Fatoki, Medical Director of Greater Heights Medical in Illinois, will shed some light on Joy Amede's experiences. Please stay with us as we discuss how immigrants can adapt to the norms of America for their own psychological wellness. Joy Amede, our guest today, arrived in America at the age of 6. She's considered a 1.5 generation immigrant, which means she's a first generation immigrant who came with her parents before her early teenage years. Research shows that the 1.5 generation immigrants, in lay language, are a blend of first generation and second generation immigrants, those who came here and those who were born here. That means, in many cases, they identify with their home country as well as their new country. They are usually versed in the English language because they are U.S. educated, but they also speak their native language in their homes. They can build the bridge between the two cultures and serve as interpreters in the communities. Sometimes they feel torn between their heritage and their American culture. They sometimes experience conflicts with their parents over values, norms, and expectations. As of 2019, about 500,000 Nigerians reside in the United States. 85% of them were born in Nigeria. Good morning, Joy Amede. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I said when I grow up, I'm going to be just like you. I'll have my portrait ready for that Zoom smile.
It's a very old picture. I have to get it updated.
No, it looks good. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the fact that you'll share your experience with us in terms of being a young adult of immigrant parents. I don't want to particularly tell your story because you'll be best in telling your own story. But I do know that you came to America at a very, very young age. So Let's take it from there. Why did you come?
First, thank you so much for, allowing me to be on this podcast and sharing my experiences with everyone. Hopefully this can create a better conversation through immigrants and their children. So why did I come to America? It's a long story, but I'll take it back to the beginning. So in 2000, my uncle, so he's like the head of our family, the patriarch of our family, connected with, his siblings. And he has 4, siblings, 4 of them all together. So there's my uncle, my mom, and 2 more brothers, so 4 of them. So he told them, hey, you guys are going to be coming to the United States soon. So he sponsored his siblings to come to the United States. And he told them, and the first day they were in America, and said, you guys have 1 year to get your family here. So there's no dilly-dallying. There's none of that. You're going to work hard and you're going to bring your family here. So my mom left to America in, I believe it was New Year's of 2001. And I didn't see her for a year. And then in April of 2002, I was on a plane headed to America. So she kind of heeded my parents' advice, and me and all of my cousins and my father headed to the United States. So that's kind of how we came here.
Were you excited to start with?
Oh, I was so nervous to start. I remember the plane ride. I remember the food being very odd, not my favorite. I remember, what I do remember is my uncle came in this big green truck. It's like one of those, minivans that can like haul many people. So he picked us up from the airport, and I just remember my stomach being very queasy the whole ride because, I hadn't seen my mom in a year. And in kid terms, that was probably around 10 years. I haven't seen this lady in 10 years. Does she still know me? Does she still recognize me? I had this new like hairstyle because I was doing like a bald haircut before because my school in Nigeria required that. But my dad had us grow our hair out. So I had this new haircut. I'm like, I don't even know if she'll recognize me. So when I was finally able to see her, I just cried. So that was my that was my recollection of what happened, April 2002.
So even though it's been a long time and you were so young at the time,
Yeah.
what were your feelings when you left Nigeria, especially about those you left behind?
Yeah. Yeah. So, one person I can kind of note of who I left behind was my auntie Mercy. She's my auntie, but I consider her more of a sister. And I was very sad to leave her because she was definitely in a mother role, especially when my mom had left. I was very sad to leave my friends, very sad to leave my teachers. I had a close relationship with my teachers even from a young age, love learning and all that. But I remember not being able to tell them. I wasn't able to tell anyone from my school, but my principal knew. My principal knew because he had a very close relationship with my dad, but no one else knew. So the day before we left, that's when it was announced. And I don't know, I was excited, but very nervous and very sad to be leaving my friends. So, yeah.
So you are now in America, and
Yeah.
you maybe spent a little time when you got to America to at least get the family together, not you, but for your family to kind of get comfortable.
Yeah.
How was your first week of school?
My first week of school, oh my goodness. I remember we went so we lived in the area in the south suburbs of Chicago called Hazel Crest. And my first school was a school called Chateau in the middle of Hazel Crest. And I remember like lots of eyes on me. I remember I could distinctly remember my accent being very different from everyone else's. I never knew I had an accent until I came to the United States. Everyone talked like me.
Yes.
But I remember, everyone, just saying different words. I was calling things, pyro, and the kids are looking at me like, what are you talking about? Um, I remember my first grade teacher was a Chinese lady called Miss Drinkwitz, and she really helped facilitate me, just kind of easing into first grade. So it was a very like odd time because I was in a state of observation and not like actively participating. So it's very hazy to recall my memories from back then, just because like I wasn't like asserting myself. I was just like taking it all in. Yeah.
What about making friends?
Friends. Okay. I had one friend that I could remember. Her name was Jalea Moore. I don't know why I'm really good with names. Her name was Jalea Moore. She was my first friend in United States. But here's a funny story about that. So we had been friends. It's now like second grade. And my mom comes to pick me up from school this one day, in her big green van. So she's picking me up from school. And then I see Jalea and her mom walking because, it's a very short walk from the school to home. And I point to Jalea and I tell my mom, hey, mom, that's my best friend. Like, aren't you so excited for me? And she said, you have no friends. Your friend is God. Your friend is in the Lord. And she was so serious. And I was really like taken aback by that. Like, can I not tell my mom I have like friends and like, is God my only friend and like my siblings? So that was very like odd for me to kind of digest in a way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You talked about when we spoke earlier, you talked about the difficulties you had in terms of actually making friends.
Yeah.
Until you got to sixth grade and then you got in trouble because of one of your friends who told you something.
Yeah. So Jalea was one of my first friends growing up, but it was really kind of hard for me to make other connections besides, that one connection I made in first grade. But in middle school, I had a next door neighbor. I would always see her headed towards the bus in my area. Now, I had no idea we had like a bus system by so close to my house headed towards the school in my area because my mom made us walk every single day to school. I don't know. I think she thought it built character or something, but I remember one day I was leaving out of the house a little early. I was leaving later actually, and I saw my neighbor and she asked me, she's like, why do you walk to school every day? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know where the bus system is. So she's like, yeah, just come with me tomorrow and we're gonna take the bus and we're gonna hang out. I'm like, okay, okay, cool. I'm excited. So the next morning, I'm like super excited to hang out with this cool girl in my school that lives right next door and takes the bus. She's super awesome, super cool. So she had her pants rolled up in like a capri fashion. I don't know if anyone knows like capris, but they're
I remember.
yeah,
I remember.
you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're like jeans or regular pants cut off right below the what's the word I'm looking for?
Your knee.
Not the ankle, like yeah, right below
Right.
the knee. So
Mm-hmm.
all the cool girls were wearing this capri outfit, but my mom never let me wear it. So that day I was hanging out with her, and after we got off the bus, we went to like this pizza place. At this point, my jeans are rolled up to capri, so I'm cool just like her. We're having a blast, and then I got home. Oh my goodness! When I got home, my mom was irate. She was irate because I got home at 3:05 every single day since like sixth grade. It's seventh grade now. Every single day at the same time. And she's like, why are your pants like that? Who are you with? Where are you going? Is this how I taught you to act? Is this how you're so it was a lot for me, and I was so scared, and I was so like disappointed that I had disappointed my mom. But looking back on it, it was just me being, a kid and, trying to fit in with my friends, and nothing was done harmless. I just wanted to wear my capris.
How about your situation with one of your teachers in seventh grade?
Yeah, so also in that seventh grade, so seventh grade was a year of discoveries. So I thought I was the smartest kid in the world, coming from Nigeria, having the parents I had, excelling in school. I had this teacher. Her name was actually Miss Taiwo. Now, Miss Taiwo, that's a Nigerian surname, or Yoruba surname to be, in fact. But Miss Taiwo was married to a Nigerian man. I knew this. And we were in lesson this one day. I had been having some issues with Miss Taiwo. I can't even pinpoint why, but I remember she was doing this lesson on the board and she made an error. I thought it was a very obvious error. I was looking around like, do you guys see this? Does anyone see this? She's doing the problem wrong, guys. Like, she's doing the problem wrong. So she hears me like chattering on the corner, telling everyone who listens to me like, oh yeah, this problem is so wrong. I'm like so smarter than this teacher who probably has her master's in math. So I tell her like, oh, we were going back and forth, and then I said, and I regret it. And I said, oh, you're a dumb ass. Oh my goodness. It was crazy. I said it, and she reprimanded me, but class kept going on. And when I got home that day, I was a little scared because I didn't know who she had called or anything. But when I got home, I saw my mom and three of her brothers on the couch ready to like lay into me. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why my uncle? Why are my uncles there? Well, my uncle had been like the, what is it called? Like the primary contact for all of me and my cousins in the area, just because his job, allowed him to kind of go out of work if, anyone needed it and, help the kids out wherever he needed it. So they called him first. He called my mom. My mom called her brothers. Everyone was there. My dad was there, and they laid into me that night. Oh, they told me who I was. They told me who I wasn't, and they told me like They told me everything in under the world. And
And it was very serious.
it was a very serious matter, and I understood like the gravity of what I had said and why it was so disrespectful to have said that to her, you know. And the next day, my mom took off of work, and my mom never takes off of work. She took off of work and she walked me to my math class. She knocked on the door. Bang, bang, bang. She knocked on the door and Miss Taiwo came out. My mom instantly starts crying. She's like, I'm so sorry for the disrespect my child has caused. And this and that. And now I'm crying and now we're both crying because I really understood like why what I did was wrong. So yeah, that's my experience with Miss Taiwo in math class. Sorry, Miss Taiwo, if you ever, listen to this.
So it seems to me that and I hope Dr. Fatoki is on the line listening to us. I really would like to come in terms of how you were unable to interact with American students or American families when you first got here, and how, even looking back now, how healthy that was or unhealthy that was.
Yeah.
And what he has to say regarding how to start to change that for those, if it's healthy to start to change that for new immigrants coming in.
I guess I have one question for Joy. So after you apologized to Ms. Taiwo, how did that end up? How was your relationship with her after that?
Thankfully, she was a very understanding woman. So I really calmed my actions in her class. I still had a little bit of animosity towards her for telling on me because, I'm a child and we could have worked it out together. But I really calmed down and, just kind of chilled out in class and not make too much of a scene. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think I see is that our culture, our African culture, our immigrant culture, we have some very strong things in our culture. Again, what George just mentioned, the respect that we give to our elders, the way we take things that our parents tell us seriously. But at the same time, we want to be accepted when we first come in here. So you're trying to be one of the cool kids. And I think one of the things to do is to make sure that we balance that out, not to lose our value and our culture, but to take the good things from our culture and take the good things from this culture and merge them together to make us a better person. So for example, trying to be a cool kid is not the same as, and I still tell my kids that I used to tell them that it's not to sag my pants, because again, if you look at where you're going in the future, I've never seen anyone who sags their pants in the boardroom. I mean, in the boardroom.
Yes.
So I use that as an example. I want to wear my hair in dreads. I mean, yes, it's our culture, but how many people do you see in power or in successful corporations who do that? So some things we still have to normalize to this culture. You don't want to assimilate the bad things that you see. Hanging out with the kids in high school who are smoking cigarettes, who are smoking marijuana. That's one of the first things I saw when I came here. Is like people smoke marijuana like they were drinking water. And that was as far back as 1982, But again, because a lot of people did it, to me, it's like, I don't see too many. I wanted to be a physician. I don't see too many doctors who smoke weed or who are out there talking about their lives like that. So it's important that while we are trying to get accepted, that we are not trying to assimilate into the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
So, and I remember Joy talking about being in college. You took this notion of not interacting to college as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. So how did that work out for you?
So my non-interaction in college, I tried to make friends. So it's always been kind of hard for me to make long-lasting friends, through elementary school, middle school, high school. But when I got to college, I found a group called the African Cultural Association, just full of lots of Nigerians, Ghanaians, Cameroonians, people from East Africa. And that's where I was kind of able to find my lifelong friends who I'm still friends with now. So I think what the connection was missing before was just people who were like me, close to my culture, and understood like the kind of nuances my culture needed, like the kind of people who would come into my house and greet my parents and not like ignore them when they walk in the room. Like that's the kind of people like I needed around me. And that's why I kind of flocked to, Nigerian Americans. And I definitely do have some African American friends too, but I do have more Nigerian American friends than anything else.
In terms of racism, I actually have a first-hand knowledge of what came out of your school about how Black students in general were treated. You went to the University of Illinois, Urbana, right? Very top school in the US, one of the top schools.
Yeah.
And you did well there. Coming from that environment, we've also heard of Nigerian students or immigrant students who actually went through some really horror or violent times due to the fact that they were Black.
Yes.
How did you deal with that?
It was very hard to deal with because, coming from the South suburbs, you're surrounded by people who look like you, the police officers are Black, the teachers are Black, all the people in authority positions are Black in the, South suburbs, Country Club Hills, area. So transitioning over to, University of Illinois was, a culture shock. I was the resident advisor and I saw a lot of things related to racism. One, thing that I can kind of pull up off of the top of my head is I used to do bulletin boards. So, just kind of interaction for, my residents. So it was Black History Month and I just kind of created a poster board for, Black historians throughout or Black leaders throughout, United States history. I put up my bulletin board. I was very excited about it. In the morning, pieces had been ripped off and I could directly correlate that to, a lot of my students just not having, respect or understanding for Black people and Black leaders, Black thoughts. So, it was, and there were lots of other instances like that, lots of grand injustices done at University of Illinois, and really the Black and the African students kind of got closer together. So yeah, it was a very hard time, but we kind of all got through it together.
Also, Dr. Fatoki, this now comes to us another question. The country is totally divided at this time. And then we have immigrants coming in, not even realizing that they will be facing racism, right? How should we start to prepare them even before they got here?
The one thing that I will say, and it's a very difficult question, so during my time, actually, and I do have regrets of not changing my accent, because when I first came to Western Illinois, they had us taking linguistics classes trying to help us to pronounce words and speak like Americans, and I just refused to do it. I told them I was proud of my African heritage and I did not want to change my accent. I wish I did because it's affecting me. I know it's affected my career. I would have been way further ahead than I am. My kids, they're able to change their accent on demand, which has been helpful for them. When they're in the Nigerian community, they can speak like Nigerians. When they're elsewhere, they can speak with an American accent. So we do need to let people know that, yes, this is the land of opportunity and you can succeed, but you do have to assimilate into the culture, or you're going to face things that you never expected to face in your life. But you just can't let that take you or keep you down. You can't mouth up to the police even when you're right. It's just yes sir when they stop you. And I mentioned some of my racism experiences too. I was beaten up by the police when I went to medical school in Peoria. And then at the end of the day, they told my lawyer, I should have said I was a medical student, that I didn't say anything. So that's there. But again, you can't argue, and it's to try to avoid putting yourself in those dangerous situations. You know where to go, you know where not to go. And just always realizing that, yes, we're Black, we're Black, we're foreigners. And especially in the past few years, it's been a whole lot worse, with the way immigrants are treated, with the way people talk to African Americans, with the way people deal with foreigners. but again, I still think it's the land of opportunity. You just have to adapt and adjust to that. It's causing a lot of mental health strain. Having people like you, just like Joyce said, that you can talk to, that you can share your experiences with, that you can encourage each other. I think that's very, very helpful. So it's just finding people who are of like mind, who are trying to accomplish things in life, that you want to accomplish, and going along with it. And also realizing that, yes, you're going through this hard time, you can overcome it. If you need to speak to a professional about your experiences, please don't be shy. Don't be afraid to do so. There is help, and there are people that can help, that are there for you.
Thank you so much, both of you. Dr. Fatoki, I thank you. Joy, I thank you very much. And we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your weekend and wonderful week coming ahead. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
For our audience, thank you for listening to our podcast on immigrants' desires to come to America and their dilemmas in staying in America. We hope this episode has been helpful and informative. Remember, adapting to a new culture can be difficult, but with the right guidance and support, it is possible. Please help us to further our efforts in alleviating immigrant struggles. Please share and subscribe to this podcast. We also want you to share your story because many immigrants need motivation. Call us or text us on desire.dilemma at 708-351-2687. 708-351-2687. Visit our website for more stories on desire-dilemma.com or email us on desire.dilemma@gmail.com. Join us again on Desire Dilemma, a podcast that amplifies immigrant voices in America. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.